Well, I think that the vast majority of employers do not understand their benefits at all. I'm going to take it just right down to the ground level. They don't understand their plans. They don't understand how they're priced. They don't understand what their options might possibly be. And so they don't ask, because it's one of those things where they don't want to sound ignorant, or they don't want to sound like they don't know what they're talking about. So they just don't ask the questions. I like to create an environment where they can feel comfortable asking any question. Ask me anything. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why your rates are the way that they are. And that situation might be different for a group of 10 than it is for a group of 100. Okay, so now we know why you have the rates you have. What options do you really have? Not the options everybody's telling you about, but what options do you really have based on your cash flow, your culture, your tolerance for change? Okay, now that we can understand that, we can say, okay, here's these options. And then I want them to start to understand the process and look at me or their current broker as more of a guide rather than just somebody who's saying, here's what you need to do. Because they should be involved and they should be invested in the process. So that's what I hope to draw out of them and have them become more engaged.
Welcome to the RockstarsRocking podcast, powered by Voluntary Disruption, a show dedicated to people who are crushing their business and life goals. These are bite-sized conversations with leading rock stars in their respective industry who are pumped to share their story to help drive you to the next level. So, are you ready to rock? Speaking of rock stars, here's your host, Eric Silverman.
Hey, rock stars, welcome back to another episode of RockstarsRocking. And boy, do I have a rock star with me today. Everybody welcome and help me welcome here Nancy Giacolone from Olympic Crest Insurance out of the Pacific Northwest. Nancy is the president and owner of a really big deal insurance agency out of the Pacific Northwest that, I tell you what, it's growing like a weed. And I can't wait to dig into some of the big reasons why Nancy's business is growing. One of them being video, my favorite. What's up, Nancy?
Good morning, Eric. Thank you for having me. You noticed I wore my leopard accent in honor of your RockstarsRocking. I wanted to represent. So
I love it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on the show. So for those that don't know Nancy is also, she's been honored as a 2020 top 20 women in advising by one of the most prestigious industry magazines there is, Employee Benefit News. And she's also a huge proponent of an organization that she's a part of, that I'm a proponent of as well, by the name of Health Rosetta. So we're going to get into a bunch of this stuff and more. But Nancy, I tell you what, I really want to dig in to your marketing over the last couple of years, because it is on point. Do the kids still say that today? I don't know, but it is off the charts. It is on fire. For those not connected to Nancy on social media yet, please do so. You can find her on LinkedIn, where she's most prevalent, in my opinion. That's where I see her the most. And Nancy, talk about the start of your social media marketing journey, because it's been quite a while and you weren't originally doing videos. So kind of take us back to when you first started on social media, if you don't mind.
Sure. Thanks, Eric. Well, I've been on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram as Olympic Crest Insurance for a number of years. And it's been a couple of years ago, probably 2.5 years ago, when I first decided I was going to start doing video. I had absolutely zero idea what I was doing and decided I was just going to give it a try. So pretty quickly, I started doing something called 2-Minute Tuesday. And so I would literally take my cell phone and I would record a quick video of myself talking about something. And I would add, a border and some captions, and I would put it up there. And the biggest thing that I did that helped me is I was very, very consistent. So for me, I posted to LinkedIn every single day, was at the top of my to-do list. And I had kind of a schedule laid out for myself on what types of posts they were going to be, whether it was going to be a article, whether it was going to be just a short form picture, whether it was going to be funny, whether it was going to be video. And so I stuck to that schedule for quite a long time, and just little by little figured out how to make them better, how to get more engagement. And then, of course, we all know our favorite pandemic hit. So at that point, I had some time on my hands, and I figured now is a great time to invest in myself. So I did a couple of social media programs, courses, and the one that really, a couple things. There was two industry ones. I did one, Ryan Miller's, and I did Andy Neary's, both phenomenal, by the way, which helped me clarify my message. But I still needed some help on how I actually leverage social media. So the one that really took it over the top for me was I participated with Alex Sheridan in his LinkedIn video marketing program. And so I learned how to craft a message, how to target my audience, and how to make them pop off the screen so it doesn't look like everybody else's. So that's kind of been my story.
So I love what you said about how you've now invested in the business. It sounds like, and I could be wrong, you invested time originally with 2 Minute Tuesdays, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I think, because we've known each other for a while now, so I think you've told me in the past that originally you and or I believe your son, you guys were together doing the editing and kind of keeping it in-house, keeping it low budget cost-wise, but still investing quite a bit of time in it just to get traction. Is that accurate?
Right. And while we kind of figured it out, and then I invested heavily in the different programs,
right? And
now have invested. I originally had somebody in Poland doing my videos, and he did a good job. And now I have Alex's team, and I mean, they're no credit to me, but the videos he does for me look different and better than most people that are doing it in our industry.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I've never met Alex, but I'm certainly happy to talk about him for a minute and plug him because he seems awesome, and I know he does great work. But that's my point, right? So I was trying to say that, you know, you did it in-house to get your feet wet. You learned the process. You could, if I hope nothing ever happens, but if something happened to Alex or you didn't want to pay for it anymore, you could totally do it in-house, maybe not to that same level. But what I love that I hear you say that I fear, sadly, I think you'd agree, a lot of folks in the benefits world, and frankly, any industry, they want to do it, but they kind of don't do it all. They kind of phone it in. They don't spend money on it. They don't spend time. They don't spend the money to invest in making it better and getting better. And I love how you've doubled down, and more than doubled down, because it's quite. It's not free. Let's put it that way.
It is not free
to use a service like Alex, and there's other great people out there.
There's plenty.
But none of them are free. So the reality is you've taken it to the next level, and I'll compliment you guys because it's noticeable. Anybody that goes back or has been following you for years and looks at your older content, it was always great content, but it's a stark difference on the quality and the way that it looks now. So, you know, what's the old saying? You get what you pay for.
That's exactly right. But don't let, for anybody that has not started, don't let that stop you. Start with whatever you have. My biggest piece of advice is keep it short. 2 minutes or less is better. 3 minutes is about the maximum. You go over that and people aren't going to listen. They're just going to tune out. No,
you're spot on, right? Like, and Andy and Ryan, who you mentioned as well, they're incredible people. They're great friends of both of ours, and I've taken their courses as well. In fact, we were in Ryan's course together at the same time. Consistency is something they always talk about, and just getting started. At the end of the day, if you don't have a budget, or maybe you do, but you don't want to spend, that's okay. Just do something. Put together that schedule, that social calendar, for lack of a better term. And then I would say, you know, it's important to follow the 11th commandment. You know what the 11th commandment is? That is honor thy schedule, because it's very easy to put something down in writing in your schedule, and then, oops, that I got busy. Oops, that popped up. Oops, that has to go over top of it. No, you have to honor your social calendar no different than you honor an appointment with a client, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And then keep a notebook or a running list or a sticky note, whatever, of ideas, because that's the thing also that trips a lot of people up is they're like, I don't know what to talk about. Well, what did you talk about with your client yesterday? What was their problem? That's going to be somebody else's problem too. So talk about that. Or what did you learn yesterday? You didn't know before, then somebody else doesn't know it. So there's unlimited ideas and people like to hear from you.
So let's talk about ideas for a second. I want your opinion and experience with, social media, specifically LinkedIn, and frankly, actually, it applies to any of the platforms, Facebook and Instagram when they're working. Hint, hint. This is being recorded after the major blackout yesterday. But on social media, should people get personal? Should they dig deep and it doesn't have to be about business, or should it always be about business? What's your philosophy?
Well, I do think you should get personal because first they have to know you and then they have to know what you do. So I think it's really important to show who you are, what you're about, and also what you do. So you have to have a balance. And in my opinion, I think let's just take 5 days. I mean, I know some people post on the weekends, but typically for me, I post during the week. I try to make 3 business related and 2 personal, because I think it's that important that people know who I am, what I care about, what my philosophies are on leadership, on service. I shared last weekend about my son's wedding because I think that's important because it talks about why I do what I do. And so, yeah, I think you should get personal.
Yeah, I mean, look, I assumed you'd say that because I've seen your posts over the years, but not everybody believes that. So I think it's refreshing to continue to hear that message. I think it's important to, I'll steal this from Ryan Miller for a minute, but be authentic. All right. Absolutely. Take it a step further, be genuine, be transparent, right? There's a lot of B's you could be. But I would say get personal. And you've seen I'm the same. I mean, in fact, I'm more than 3-2. I'm more like probably 4-1, if not more, when it comes to personal. Most of my content is about family and other people and my Baltimore Orioles, right?
Yes.
I'm a big believer that people do business with people they like and trust and eventually know. And a lot of my clients I've never actually met in person, but yet we conduct commerce over the course of the year via social media and via Zoom. And we're talking about big business with clients and employers. And the reason why is when you talk to them, and you know this, they feel like we already have met. We feel like we've known 100%. Each other for 20 years. So have you now been able to take your video marketing that, at the end of the day, you might get 50 people to like or comment, and they may be all your colleagues. Dare I even use the term competitor? Sure. Those, God bless them, they're fantastic. But if I comment, that's nice, but you don't care. And you can admit that. The ultimate end goal is to have it resonate with future prospects and employers and clients. Can you talk about what your consistency on video marketing has done for you in that respect?
Oh, absolutely. So for one thing, I will say right off the bat is people see your content, whether you know it or not, whether they're commenting or even liking it, they see it. And so you become known. And so then when you actually make a connection with somebody, they already kind of know you, and it makes that whole first process, that first step, so much easier because they wanted to have a conversation with you because they felt like they knew something about you and they could trust you. So that's one piece of it that has really helped. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to somebody and they're like, "Oh, I know you from LinkedIn." I'm like, "You do," which is kind of cool. But the other part is I do have people reach out to me directly now from LinkedIn, employers, HR people. They're like, "Oh, that really resonated with me and I'd like to talk to you." 2 years ago, I didn't get anything like that, but I get it now.
And let me ask you, 2 years ago, you didn't get it. I would venture to guess, tell me if I'm wrong, but I would venture to guess 18 months ago, you didn't get it. Maybe even a year ago, you didn't get it. Like, it takes time, folks, right? And the ones that you're getting now probably all started and they come in clusters. Like they started after more than a year's worth of consistency. Yes?
Absolutely. And here's the other thing to speak to that, Eric, is I always tell people social media, it's a long play. It's a long game. It is not a short game. If you're going to get in it for 3 months and say, oh, it didn't work for me, you
Don't
didn't get
do
a
it.
chance.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for you in 3 months. You might get a whole bunch of connections because you're accepting, the oil broker from India or, the Bitcoin dealer,
Wait, you get
which is
those too?
which is fine, but I'm also pretty selective in my connections. I don't accept everybody's connections because it's not my market. No offense, Bitcoin dealer in India, but you're not the guy I want to do business with. So I do focus on who can I help, who can I support, whether it's somebody I'm actually going to do business with, am I going to give value to that person?
Sure.
And am I going to get value in return? So I kind of look at that, but it is a long play, long game for sure.
Yeah. And, just like I'm sure you've experienced, I mean, I've had times where, and I want you to speak to this if you can, your opinion, but I've had times where I'll spend a lot of time crafting what I would say is the perfect post, the perfect image, the perfect video, the perfect document, like a PDF share, like a slide deck. And it falls on flat. I fall flat on my face. Like it doesn't get any traction and I literally want to pull my hair out. And then days I'll spend no time. I'm like, oh, I'm busy today. I got to throw something up there. I'll throw something up there. And man, that thing just takes off like a rocket ship. So I tend to overanalyze sometimes, and I think others do as well. Have you ever experienced that, or what's your opinion in that?
Yes, absolutely, because I am an analyzer. So that's one thing I always look at. However, I don't really look at my stats anymore, FYI. I don't track them. I might look and go, oh, that post did really well. The thing that I know more than anything else is that most people see it, and those occasional posts that blow up, if you use them correctly, you can get a lot of traction out of it. I posted a poll on whether people like pizza or tacos. I mean, I don't know. It just popped into my head one day and I had nothing else. So I'm like, okay, but I don't remember, 50,000 people responded to it. And I developed some really interesting conversations as a result of that poll, because people would say something and I'd respond and we could have this conversation. And then all of a sudden we had a connection and now they're in my circle. So don't discount the benefit of just doing something fun and light once in a while too. Just because it's not specifically business related or just deep about you, take the opportunity to make the connections and develop relationships, because that's what's going to bring you business.
100%. I agree. And the one thing that I recommend always, and maybe you'd agree or disagree, I don't know, is you may not want to need to be looking at your stats, because it really will mess up your mind if you have one go well and many not, or vice versa. But one thing that I did learn, and I probably learned, quite frankly, I'll give him credit, I probably learned it from an Andy or a Randy or a Ryan type person, probably was those guys, but take note of the ones that do really well. So, if you're consistently getting similar metrics, that's great. But if you have one or two over the course of the months or years that blow up, take specific note of it. Number one, they taught me that there's no reason 3 months later you couldn't just completely repost the exact same with the same message, the same wording. You just cut and paste and didn't change a thing. But number two, you start to get a feel for what your audience, what your connections like. So what's your thought on that?
No, I do. So you're 100% correct. So I do make note of the posts that do really well. There's no reason you can't repurpose your video content. So if we talked about this earlier, if you are on a podcast or you did a webinar, take snippets from that and create different content. You don't have to be making new content all the time. Mm-hmm. Create a library of content that you have at your disposal for those days when you're just not feeling very creative. You don't have anything that's popping out. Post it again. No one cares. No one. And if they remember, I was going to say no one remembers, but if they remember, they don't care. It doesn't bother them to see it again. So you're going to reach a whole bunch of other people that didn't see it the first time.
So let's talk about moving the conversation. So you may not have an employer, an HR person reach out because they're stalking you. You just said it. I agree. They're looking. Yep. They may not be commenting or liking, but they're one of the views of your thousands of views or hundreds of views that you may get, whether it's a digital video or whether it's an image, no problem, right? Or anything in between. But how do you take the conversation to the direct message. So you're Nancy, you post a video, you post an image, and you do eventually, one day you'll have a business owner, an HR person in your market or somewhere around the country. They make a comment, and you start a small little conversation in the comment section. What do you do, or how do you move that conversation from the comment section to the direct message section of LinkedIn? Let's start there.
Okay. So what I have done in the past is I will generally message them and say, hey, so-and-so, thanks so much for supporting my post about blah, blah, blah. I found your comment really interesting. Would love to connect.
Right.
That's just basic. I don't
if you're not already connected directly.
If I'm not already connected,
right.
I ask to connect. I don't pitch them in. I don't ask for time
Sure.
on my calendar, anything else. If I am already connected with that person, then I will again ask them, usually a follow-up question to their comment.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think about X? Again, getting them to talk, and then we'll move it along and see if there's an opportunity for further conversation. What I have just recently started doing, and I mentioned this again, is creating a library of video assets. So now I have kind of a little video that says, hey there, noticed you, it's a video and it's about 30 seconds long. It says, hey there, noticed you commented on my post, bet you thought I was going to ask for something. No, I'm not, just wanted to say hi, thanks so much, would love to be connected.
Right.
And I might even add something, I'm a benefit consultant if you ever need anything. But I don't
Right.
ask for anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I just let that sit. I don't push.
Right.
If that person
Weeks,
doesn't
months could go by.
Months could go by. And if they comment on something again, then I'll just say, hey, noticed you commented again. Would still love to be connected.
Right.
I always just start at that level. I know you know this, but there's nothing more annoying than getting a 6-paragraph DM from somebody asking you to book time on their calendar and telling you how they're going to change your business. You know nothing about my business, so don't tell me how you're going to change it yet.
Right.
I just want to know you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I'm so grateful that you forgive me from the first time I sent you that message. No, I'm just kidding. I've never done that.
You.
No, I completely agree. We all, I look at it as, how do you feel? Like, right? I mean, I don't care what industry you're in, you get the same messages we do from other people trying to sell you stuff. Do you answer and buy right away? Is it buy? I'm not talking about in sync here, people. Are you ready to just buy everything that people pitch you? The answer is no. You hate them, you block them, you don't respond, you get annoyed. We're no different as on our side of the fence, and vice versa. So, I'm a big believer in treating people the way that that you like to be treated. Is a good rule of thumb.
Well, it is, and to take that a step further is treat them the same way on a social media platform that you'd treat them in person. So if you're at a networking event or cocktail party or Orioles game, although I'm not sure why anyone would want to go to those, but you get the general gist of it. If you see somebody and you walk up and talk to them, you're going to introduce yourself. You're going to ask them questions about themselves. You're going to have a conversation. You're not going to start pitching them on something before you even know who they are or what they do. So do the same thing on social media.
No, you're completely right. Now let's take it one step further, and then I'm going to switch gears and talk about some other things. But you're now having a conversation in the DM. How do you make that leap, that jump to an in-person, if you want, or a Zoom call, or even just a traditional old-fashioned phone call? How do you make that leap from the DM?
I will usually just tell them straight up at that point. I'll say, I'd love to get to know you more. And are you open to a phone call or a Zoom chat? And I'll just ask them that. I don't send them the link to my calendar. I just say, I'd love to get to know more about you.
Right.
That's it.
I like
and
it.
Most of the
Direct
time,
and to the point.
Yep. I'm not trying to sell them anything at that point because I don't know if I have anything to sell them. I don't know what they need. I don't know that much about them. I just want to get to know more about them. And then once we have a conversation, we can start to explore if there's an opportunity there.
Bingo. I like it. I've asked that question before, and some people will, their answer, and I'm not naming names or judging, but sometimes the answers I get are a little more vague. They're a little more, I kind of tease them a little bit and dip my toe in the water. But I really love how you are, not in a bad way at all. You're very direct. You're like, hey, let's hop on a call. And I mean, at the end of the day, you got nothing to lose. If they say
Right.
yes, it's great. If they say no, that's still great because you know where you stand.
Yeah.
And timing is always everything as well. I think you'd agree. So
100%.
that's good. I like it. All right, now let me switch gears. Right, we've talked about video, we've talked about marketing. That's been a huge influencer for you with respect to getting exposure within your market, and I assume gaining traction and growing the business and getting new clients and prospects in the pipeline. So we're sitting down, right? And I'm an employer prospect of yours, and you are looking to potentially work with me. We don't know if we're going to work together yet or if we're a fit, but it's interesting because from your perspective, what questions should I, as an employer, be asking of you as a potential advisor, broker, consultant that I could be potentially hiring? And or what questions should I be asking as an employer to my incumbent, my current broker advisor, that most employers don't even ever think to ask?
So I'm going to start on the flip side for just 30 seconds. So
Okay.
if I'm sitting down with an employer, the first thing I'm going to want to know about them is I want to know about their business. I don't want to know about their benefits. I want to know about their business. I want to know what are their pain points, what are their areas for growth or opportunity, what's their culture like, what's their cash flow like. I just want to understand their business. So I have to know that before we can even get to the conversation about benefits. Now we're finally on benefits, and even if to a point where maybe I'm making some general recommendations, these are things we should potentially look into. So then I think from the employer standpoint, I think what they need to know is, can I do what I say I'm going to do? So they can straight up ask me that. Do you have the resources and capability to do what you're saying? Now, that answer should not be how many employees do you have, or how big is your agency, or how long have you been in business? The question should be, can you do what you say you're going to do? And do you have the resources to do it? Because that's really all that matters. I could have 75 employees, which I don't, but I could have 75 employees and the level of service could be exactly the same or worse. So really it should matter to them, can I do what I say I'm going to do? I think they should ask me, how do I get paid and how much do I get paid? Because they need to have a full understanding of how I'm compensated, because it's their money. Whether they're paying it in the premium or whether they're writing me a consultant check or whether I'm getting it in overrides for the insurance company, it's their money. They need to understand it. I want to know when I'm buying something, so I think they should know. It's part of their entire buying package. And then I think that they should ask for some referrals. I'd like to talk to some of your current clients, because that's how they're going to get the best feeling of, I can tell you I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, but is that the truth? Talk to my clients, they'll tell you.
So I agree with everything. I really specifically love how you want and encourage employers to ask you, or their existing broker, in fact, as well, about compensation. I mean, this year coming up, I believe in December, I think it is. I don't have the date in front of me, but we know that the Compensation Disclosure Act is coming into full fruition. And you've been talking about it for years anyway. You want people, employers and prospects, to know what you get paid, how you get paid, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's so important. And to me, I believe that it's it's that elephant in the room that nobody likes to talk about. Employers don't feel comfortable asking when they, in my opinion, and yours too, they should. And most, I'd use the term, dare I say it, it's an overused term at this point, but the old-fashioned status quo brokers and advisors and consultants that are excited about employer renewal increases because that means they get a pay raise. Those are the ones that typically would never want you to ask that question. And they would be forced to either skirt the question, not give you a straight answer, or, just going to say it, dare I say, lie to you, just because ultimately they can't and won't answer it. And let me ask you this. If they're scared to answer the question, or they're uncomfortable answering the question, could it be because they know they're overpaid based on the value that they are not bringing?
100%. 100%. when I have that conversation with employers or even individuals, and they ask me, how are you getting paid? Because oftentimes because we do help individuals and Medicare people as well, and they want to make sure we're getting paid. So that's why they ask me. But I often tell people, I'm like, I don't work for free.
Right.
I'm not independently wealthy, so I don't work for free. And you probably don't run your business for free either. So I have to be compensated fairly. And this is how much I'm compensated. And this is what you get in return for the fee that you pay me. If that doesn't work for you, then I might not be the right broker consultant for you.
No, I agree. And, it's interesting because you're probably like me and a lot of our colleagues that we look up to and respect too these days, that you are selectful with who you work with. I mean, at the end of the day, you could spend weeks and months prospecting a perfect target opportunity of an employer group, your avatar of who you believe is going to be a good fit. And then when you dig in and you start asking them questions about their business and their culture and their cash flow, all the things you said, you may realize that you're not a good fit for them. Maybe ever, but certainly maybe not right at that time. Has that ever happened? Have you ever walked away from a company that you feel wanted to work with you? They would have hired you, but you knew that you weren't going to be the right fit.
Many times, because it's a two-way relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It has to work for me and it has to work for the client.
Sure.
So it has to be mutually beneficial, not just mutually profitable. It has to be mutually beneficial. I have to feel like I'm actually providing a valuable service. I'm making a difference to that employer. And if I can't do those things, then there's other brokers that can.
So what do you say to because I know you help give advice and semi-mentoring, for lack of a better term, to other newer benefit advisors and brokers within our industry, as do I. That's not easy to do. I remember brand new being green in the business, and perhaps you do as well. Somebody wants to buy, the cardinal rule of sales, let them buy. If they're not a good fit, you're still going to make money and feed your family. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm a newer advisor or broker in the industry, but I'm trying to do the right thing, but I also have to feed my family, I need income. What kind of advice or info would you give me with respect to, it's hard to walk away? What do I do, Nancy?
Well, I had to dig way back in my memory banks because I've been doing this for a very long time to when I first started. But anyway, what I generally tell people is to be very clear on your goals. If this isn't your goal, you need to stay away from it. And it's the same thing with diet, exercise, business. You have to be disciplined. If you want real results, you have to have a plan and you have to stick to it. If you start doing this, and all of a sudden you're going to have some pizza on your diet, or you're going to, randomly do some weird exercises that have no place in your fitness program, you're not going to get the results you want. So
I feel like you're talking directly to me. That's not nice.
you have to create a plan and you have to stick to it. That's the bottom line. And some can and some can't.
Yeah. No, you're right. It is about discipline. And I would even say it still goes back to the schedule, honoring your commitment, put it in writing and follow it. So let me ask you this. What questions would you want to be asked as an advisor from an employer, client, or a prospect? I know you mentioned how you get paid, but what else could they be asking you that you would love for them to know and understand that, frankly, they probably don't know and understand about their current broker or advisor in the insurance employee benefits world?
Well, I think that the vast majority of employers do not understand their benefits at all. I'm going to take it just right down to the ground level. They don't understand their plans. They don't understand how they're priced. They don't understand what their options might possibly be. And so they don't ask, because it's one of those things where they don't want to sound ignorant, or they don't want to sound like they don't know what they're talking about. So they just don't ask the questions. I like to create an environment where they can feel comfortable asking any question. Ask me anything. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why your rates are the way that they are. And that situation might be different for a group of 10 than it is for a group of 100. Okay, so now we know why you have the rates you have. What options do you really have? Not the options everybody's telling you about, but what options do you really have based on your cash flow, your culture, your tolerance for change? Okay, now that we can understand that, we can say, okay, here's these options. And then I want them to start to understand the process and look at me or their current broker as more of a guide rather than just somebody who's saying, here's what you need to do. Because they should be involved and they should be invested in the process. So that's what I hope to draw out of them and have them become more engaged.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of to me it sounds like, and we've talked about this before, but it sounds like it's important to find the pain point of really, I kind of, maybe it even goes back to their why, right? I don't want to be cliche and talk about Simon Sinek, but why do they offer benefits? Most employers ultimately offer benefits to attract and retain good talent, but it's got to me, there's a deeper meaning. Like, you know, I've had employers straight up tell me, you've had these too, I'm sure, prospects and employers, they say, well, I have to. I don't want to. I have to. It's expensive. I hate it. It's bullshit. Excuse me. But I've had employers genuinely tell me that. And I hate to think what their culture is at that employer, not judging a little bit. But my point is, what's the real pain point? Is that something that you would hope to discover other than what the surface might say?
Absolutely. Because we have to understand, okay, why are, like you say, why are you providing benefits? Because you have to. Why?
Right. It's deeper. You got to go deeper.
Why do you have to provide benefits? Is it because you're in an industry that demands an extensive benefit package to attract and retain top talent? If you treat it as a have to, that is not going to be perceived as a true benefit to your employees. They're going to feel it and they're going to know that you just feel you're doing it out of a sense of obligation, that it's one of those things that's required of you. If you're doing it because you want to attract and retain the best employees because you want to create a good life for them, you want to create benefits that are meaningful to them, you want to create a place where they can have a career and grow and contribute to the company's profitability and growth, you're going to view that a lot differently.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when it comes to that deep meaning, to find that pain point, you do have to push them and you have to dig deeper, because otherwise you're just going to get generic answers. And I feel like, and I've seen it, quite frankly. I've seen advisors and brokers, they kind of ask a question, they get whatever answer they get, and then they move on as if they're, you know, I use the term, they're phoning it in. They basically have a checklist of the top 7 questions that their boss told them to ask or that they were trained on that they should ask. And then they get an answer, they check it off. They didn't hear the answer. They didn't comprehend the answer. They certainly didn't internalize the answer, because if they did, they would realize that 90% of the answers you get the first time from a prospect or employer, in my opinion, are nonsense. They're surface answers. They're blow-off answers. And I think that it's a respectful, I think it's respectful when an advisor and a broker digs deeper or a consultant digs deeper. And I think that a good employer is going to recognize that. What do you think?
I agree with that. And I'd probably get black marks on my resume from some of the teachers in our industry that say you're supposed to go in and have this agenda of things that I have I'm like introductions. I just tell them, you know, the main points, but I don't script out my questions because I feel that you miss important opportunities to dig deeper. I know the main things that I need to ask them. And sometimes that means we're going to spend the entire time on one question and I'm going to have a follow-up appointment. But if I have a list in front of me, I'm going to feel like I need to get through it. So for me personally, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but for me personally, I go in focused on them, period. Let's talk. And once we get through all those basics, and that may happen in one meeting, it may happen in 3 meetings, then we can get into the more, you know, nitty gritty checklist items. But let's start with why. Why do you want to do this? And how can I help you do that?
Do you ever ask a prospect why they're even meeting with you? And
oh yeah.
I mean, because you could get a nonsense response. Well, you pestered me. Well, I saw your videos, but really, I don't feel like that's a real reason. I saw your videos and you seem interested. I'd love to meet with you. Okay, that's great. Or you pestered me and as a broker, you cold called me and I just figured I'd be nice. Okay, but why? Like I'm looking, I don't know about you, I would be looking for a seed of discontent because if they're truly married to their existing incumbent advisor broker and there's no chance in meeting, then why are we meeting? So there's got to be something, right?
Yeah, there's always something that they see in you that's intrigued them.
They're not getting currently.
Yeah, that they're not getting currently, and they may not even know what it is yet. But there's something that they see that they're not getting, and so that's incumbent upon us to figure out what that is.
I like it. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I've asked that before over my years. I've been in the business 22 years, and more times than not, you just get generic answers. And again, you dig deeper. And you're right. Maybe they don't know what it is yet, but there's something that they know could be there, and they're trying to uncover and figure out if there's a fit. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as we wrap up, and I appreciate you coming on today, let me ask you, you've been in the business, the insurance employee benefits world longer than myself. You've been around a long time. Not every advisor broker that I meet that's been in the business so long has the fire and the passion that I see in you to be reinventing and doubling down and investing not only time, but actual real money in growing your practice. That pilot light is more than flickering in your core. I mean, you are fired up and ready to roll. Why do you think that is? And if I'm a broker advisor who's been around longer or as long as you, and I don't have that passion, maybe share, if you can, in our last few minutes, where you believe your passion came from that maybe they can glean from.
Well, I've always loved what I do. I've loved helping people. I love making a difference. I love helping my community. I like helping my employees, like helping my employers. That's always been a level of enjoyment. But I will take it right back to the pandemic. I mean, there's good and bad that's come out of all this. And I will tell you that one of the good things for me was because I did start investing and really putting myself out there, I kind of found my voice in a way that I didn't have even 5 years ago. And so that's exciting. It's like, I know I have something to contribute, and I want to make sure that I contribute it not only to potential clients that I have, but also other advisors in this industry. I want to make sure that I leave a legacy when I finally walk out the door. I want people to say, she made this industry a better place. So that's what my fire's about.
Well said. Well said. Bravo. Because it's so good. It's true. All right, guys. Well, look, I appreciate you coming on, Nancy. And look, I'm a one-man show when on the screen here, but the reality, like you, I mean, you're on the screen putting videos together. I'd be nothing. This podcast that I'm so grateful for folks listening, it would literally be nothing if it wasn't for the people behind the scenes that make it all happen, just like you and your videos. So for everybody behind the scenes at the Rockstars Rocking podcast, I'm Eric Silverman. That, my friends, is Nancy Giacolone, and you've just listened to another Rockstar Rockin' podcast, and I appreciate you coming on, Nancy, and I appreciate everybody that's listened and or watching if you're watching here on YouTube. Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Rockstars Rocking podcast. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. 5 stars would totally rock. Until next time, rock stars, keep rocking.